Now, this is the big one. This was the one that I really wanted to talk about. Because while the world was looking in one direction, they were announcing something under the radar. And I don't think that's coincidence. Tether unveils USAT, its planned US-regulated dollar-backed stablecoin, and will appoint Bo Hines as CEO of Tether USAT. The introduction of USAT and appointment of Bo Hines marks Tether's next chapter in strengthening US dollar dominance through transparency and innovation. Tether was the company that I was telling people to pay attention to. I believe that Tether, at this moment in time, I still believe that Tether is one of the main companies that is going to help introduce this new digital dollar, which is the stablecoin, which we understand, and we're not going to go through all of it again. We've already gone through it, so if you don't know anything about it, you can find the videos on my YouTube channel. But the whole idea of the Trump administration, quote unquote, banning the CBDC was all one giant illusion. It was a way to say, we're against what the world is doing, what the globalists want to do, but in that same exact executive order, they were promoting stablecoin, which is worse than a CBDC. And we've gone over whys, because it's not the government that's in control. They don't have to go through all the politics and the red tape and the legislation and laws. They don't have to worry about any of that. It's private corporations that hold the power of these things. And with how that works is if you do something that they don't like, they can just instantly turn it off. They don't have to go through all the regulations. They can just turn it off. And Tether was one of the main companies that was always attached to this in some way. And now we have this, they're announcing this. Tether, the largest company in digital asset ecosystem, today unveiled USAT, its planned US regulated dollar-backed stablecoin, along with the announcement and appointment of Bo Hines as Tether USAT's future chief executive officer. The simultaneous introduction of both the token and the CEO reflects Tether's commitment to delivering a US-regulated dollar-backed stablecoin backed by transparent reserves, strong governance, and American leadership from day one. As the most widely used stablecoin in the world, Tether's USDT token, which is the stablecoin or US dollar back, or the stablecoin that's backed by the US dollar that they institute around the world. And so the USAT is the one that's here. Token has become the infrastructure powering the digital asset economy, with a market capitalization exceeding $169 billion and daily transactional volumes that outpace even the traditional behemoths of the payment sector, like the top credit card and remittance companies. Moreover, USDT has grown to be globally known as the digital dollar for emerging markets and developing countries, reaching nearly 500 million users as of today, with a deep focus on the unbanked, and underserved, the communities left behind by traditional financial sector for being too poor to pay the high fees imposed by those institutions. USAT will be established as a US-regulated stablecoin designed to provide businesses and institutions with a digital alternative to cash and traditional payment rails. Governed by strict regulatory standards and backed by transparent reserves, USAT will set a new benchmark for compliance and accessibility for the US stablecoin industry. USAT will be designed to comply with the recently enacted Genius Act, the landmark U.S. legislation governing stablecoin issuance, marking a major step towards aligning digital asset innovation with the country's established leadership in financial regulation. This could be something pretty significant, guys. USAT will leverage the Hadron by Tether technology, the most advanced real-world assets tokenization platform. Anchorage Digital, the first and only federally regulated crypto bank, will be the Genius Act compliant issuer. Together, they offer a solution for Tether USAT to launch fully regulated digital dollars. Let me read that again. Together, so Tether and Anchorage Digital, they offer a solution for the Tether USAT to launch fully regulated digital dollars. The new token that will tap into the unmatched global distribution network of the Tether Group. Cantor Fitzgerald will act as the designated reserve custodian and serve as the preferred primary dealer. And we can see here through this announcement by Anchorage Digital, who is responding to Tether's announcement regarding this. It says Anchorage Digital Bank, the first and only crypto bank and stablecoin issuance platform under federal USOCC oversight, is proud to be the issuer of Tether's new Genius-compliant stablecoin, advancing the strength of the US dollar for decades to come. I really, really hope people are understanding how important this is, because this is a major step. Even if Tether is not the dollar, the digital dollar itself, the fact is we are starting to see the emergence of this digital financial system, and it is coming hard and it is coming fast, and this is significant. This is significant, and this was something that has gone right under the radar. Right under the radar. I'm not seeing anybody talking about this at all, because the world is looking at this hand. Wow, this hand is doing something underneath. There's something else I wanted to point out on this. It says Bo Hines brings a distinctive blend. So this is the dude who's going to be in control of it. Bo Hines brings a distinctive blend of legal, business, and policy expertise to his role as CEO of USAT. As both an entrepreneur and the former executive director of the White House Crypto Council. Former executive director of the White House Crypto Council. That's the connection there. Don't forget that. That's a major connection. He has operated as the nexus of governance, law, and financial innovation. His appointment underscores Tether's commitment to launching USAT under US-based leadership with a clear understanding of American regulatory priorities. Pretty significant. So we have that. We have the announcement of this sucker. A Genius Act, US regulated dollar-backed stablecoin announced with Tether that's going to be distributed through Anchorage Bank, which is under the USOCC oversight, which is also Genius compliant and is the only crypto bank so far that can do this. And they're working together with a guy who has a major connection to the White House. Something significant there. But along with that, this came out at the same time. Same time. U.S. government to bring Patriot Act to digital assets. FinCen director reveals that the Treasury is finalizing a ban on privacy tools. Representatives revive special measures to fight modern threats. Says this week seems to be the week of revisiting useless legislation that turned fatal for the constitutional rights of the United States Americans while proving lethal for many non-U.S. citizens. While we're happy to report that the Treasury is working on reforming the Bank Secrecy Act, yesterday signed into law by President Nixon in 1970, this 9/11 anniversary, we have to report that the Treasury is working to apply the Patriot Act to digital assets. Signed into law after September 11, 2001, George Bush, the guy who sometimes forgets that there's a difference between Iraq and Ukraine, accidentally told U.S. Americans that the government was always looking for new ways to harm the country and illegally invaded not one but two foreign nations. The Patriot Act officially grants the U.S. government special powers to bypass constitutional protections in the face of terrorism, including warrantless surveillance and the suspension of due process rights that have led to the unjust imprisonment and relentless torture of hundreds of people around the world. So yes, all those restrictions that we know of the Patriot Act are now going to be applied to digital assets, the same time that they announced the USAT digital dollar. Coincidence? I think not. And both of these just happened to get announced after a certain event just took place. Seems to me like they're trying to slide this underneath without people really seeing what's happening. Since 2001, the Patriot Act has significantly shaped the financial world, mandating the strict application of Know Your Customer frameworks, tightening anti-money laundering laws, and increasing the sharing of sensitive information between both private and public entities. Now, FinCen Director Andrea Gacki confirmed that the Treasury is working on finalizing the so-called Mixer Rule, which uses the Patriot Act to prohibit private transactions in cryptocurrency. At the same time, Representative Noon of Iowa let slip that the House appears to continue to work on special measures to fight Modern Threats Act, a Patriot Act digital asset legislation that's long been thought dead, which would solidify the Treasury use of Section 311 to prohibit certain transactions. In July, the White House asked the Treasury to finalize the so-called Mixer Rule, a Biden-era regulation that would outlaw most every mechanism for privacy on public blockchains for U.S. Americans. In this week's FinCen oversight hearing, Director Gacki confirmed that the Treasury is currently working on finalizing that rule. Let's see here. To alleviate, so while Gacki stated that the FinCen was working with blockchain analysis companies to de-anonymize pseudonymous transactions, Liccardo countered that the software, like mixers, would allow users to evade sophisticated detection techniques. To alleviate Liccardo's concerns, Gacki pointed Liccardo to the Biden-era Mixer Rule, stating that FinCen and the Treasury are exploring the next steps on that. Since the Mixer Rule has already passed the notice of proposed rulemaking and public comment periods, its next step would be the finalization of the rule. The delicate thing is not to restrict legitimate transactions, such as people trying to shield their activity from oppressive regimes, Gacki stated, adding that we have to make sure that they tailor any approach to be directed as illicit activity. What this thing does is if you start mixing different wallets and transactions and whatnot, it's going to flag the system to say that you are doing something illegal, and they can shut it off. They can stop the transaction, they can freeze your account, they can take the money away, they can do it like this. So if you have too many transactions that make it look like you're doing something illegal, they can hit you for it. That's what this is, because they'll deem it as illicit or terrorism or foreign enemy of some type. And so this gives them the ability, if they know who you are and you are doing something that they don't want, they can hit you for it because of it. So it says the Treasury's Mixer Rule is not so much a Mixer Rule rather than a blanket ban on any software and even behavior that would grant users of public blockchains transactional privacy. As such, the rule would deem that the following software and behaviors are a primary money laundering concern, meaning that such transactions would end up blocked by centralized intermediaries and could put an end to development of privacy software, even for non-custodial wallets under the threat of criminal liabilities. So they would believe that you are committing money laundering and can block your transactions if they see you doing one of these things: pooling or aggregating cryptocurrency from multiple persons, wallets, addresses, or accounts. So if you have multiple accounts, multiple wallets, and you guys are pooling money together for something like that, they can deem that money laundering and shut it off. Using pragmatic or algorithmic code to coordinate, manage, or manipulate the structure of a transaction. Splitting cryptocurrency for transmittal or transmitting the cryptocurrency through a series of independent transactions. So if you want to take a lump sum of money, but you start sending it through multiple independent transactions, from the same account, they would deem you as possibly doing money laundering and stop you from doing it. Creating and using single-use wallets, addresses, or accounts, and sending cryptocurrency through such wallets, addresses, or accounts through a series of independent transactions. Same thing. Exchanging between types of cryptocurrency or other digital assets. So if you take a certain, say like a stablecoin, and then you go and you want to exchange to a different type of cryptocurrency, they can flag that as money laundering as well. Yes, something as simple as that. And facilitating user-initiated delays in transactional activity. They are literally taking all of the Patriot Act and now applying it to all of cryptocurrency and digital financing. And it's going to be placed in there. And remember, this is the new system that they're trying to bring to replace the dollar. Again, I do not believe that these are separate issues. I believe that this is a coordinated event. And I certainly hope that you guys are seeing this as well. So, yeah, U.S. government to bring Patriot Act to digital assets. We are seeing a massive push for this digital dollar system, all at the same time, all right now, all under the cover of an event. And I think this is purposely done. Never let a good crisis go to waste.